We've been together just over a year now.
Yeah, a year and a little bit.
And we met actually because I was new to Cornwall. I'm from Birmingham originally, and I didn't really know anyone here, and we met online.
And ever since then, we've just sort of really hit it off. I've just found someone who I'm really, really comfortable with, and yeah, we seem to be working all right.
All right, yeah.
All right, yeah.
Living in a small village is kind of like the thing that isn't spoken about. You don't see like a couple walk down the street holding hands who are of the same gender. It's you know, you don't hear people speak about it, and if you do hear people speak about it, like there's a pub in our village, it's not the man who owns the pub, it's that gay man who owns the pub. It's like very taboo, very kind of, you know, not spoken about, but if it is, then it's almost seen as a bad thing or a thing that, you know, it kind of defines somebody and who they are, rather than they're just a normal person.
I said to someone there, oh yeah, I'm gay by the way, and they're like, oh, okay. Because people just see you as people up there, because that's what it is. The army is about equality as well. And that's one of the reasons why joining the army is a good thing, because it's a family. And the family, it means that no matter who you are, no matter your gender, your origins, you are a family. And everyone's seen as equal there. What makes you a different person is what you do, not who you are. But people here don't yet see it as that. They see what you are before who you are.
When people would say goodbye to me, they'd say bye, as in bisexual, as if it was a bad thing. And, you know, you get shouted from across the street, like, hey, fag. I was walking down the street last year with my little sister, and someone just said, oi, fag, what are you doing with that little girl? I said, she's my sister. She was 3, you know?
In a rural location, differences are magnified. So if somebody's seen as being visibly different, that they stand out, they can feel especially vulnerable to that victimisation, because people are targeting that difference, something about you that you can't change. And that often tends to be magnified within a rural location, because in urban environments, it's much more diverse.
I was raised really all heterosexually with 2 brothers and 2 sisters. And it was really sort of a typical household. You had the mum, the dad, the 2 boys, 2 girls, quite a large house. And yeah, quite traditional values in terms of sexuality. You know, boys were raised with boys with their action figures and their guns, and the girls were raised with their prams and, you know, the play tea sets.
You're brought up with that sort of premise of, you know, boys and girls go together, and you don't ever really think about it. But once I got to secondary school and I started to hit my teens, there was just something that as I got older that just didn't sit right with that.
Year 7 was when I first started realising, hang on, something's not quite right here. I haven't liked girls ever. I've seen people going off with girlfriends at like primary school, and I just thought, what's going on? What's the attraction there? And then about halfway through year 7, I got the internet at home, and I was like, oh, so that's why I don't feel the same as everyone else. It's because I'm not, I'm gay. Oh yeah, okay.
Back when I was at the age of 13 or 14, that was really the age when I started to like come into my sexuality. I mean, even before then, I'd never really looked at women as anything sexual. Like, I'd look at them just more or less the way I'd look at a bedroom decor, like, oh, that's pretty. I mean, back at that time, I couldn't really explain it properly for myself, and I can remember for the first couple of years, I was absolutely terrified, because I thought, oh my God, what is this? Like, I knew exactly what it was, but I was sort of too afraid to come to terms with it myself, and I more or less gave myself a false persona for at least a couple of years. Like, I know it's kind of weird, because obviously looking at me now, you would never guess it, but I did try and butch myself up, and it did kind of work, but at the same time, I did feel like an absolute idiot doing it.
I think I sort of always knew at the back of the mind that I probably wasn't 100% straight. I think if I'm honest, when I started realising I might be into girls, I sort of tried to suppress those feelings.
I wasn't even aware of my own identity then. I didn't really know what I was, and I didn't really care what I was. But I said I was straight for the, you know, in year 7 you don't really want to come out as anything other, well, not don't want to, I mean you should feel comfortable, but you don't. So I just said I was straight, even though I knew kind of deep down that I wasn't. But kind of I was 13 when I kind of realised that I was queer as anything. People started to pick that up, obviously, and it was really bad when I was in year 8 actually. Year 8 and 9 was kind of like the worst time for me.
I was in year 9, I remember I decided that I was fed up of having long hair and I cut my hair short. So I came in one day with this short hair, and the first thing my year 9 class said is, "Oh look, Charlotte's become a lesbian." It went on for quite a while, and the bullying was pretty bad. I had kids calling me a lesbian, I had kids calling me a dyke, I had them calling me a man, purely on the fact that I had short hair. I remember a group of kids saying, "Oh, you look like a man, look at your hair and look at your clothes." And I remember getting really annoyed with them because I was wearing school uniform. I mean, what about my clothes? I was wearing the same clothes as everyone else.
One of the biggest issues is that we don't understand the impact, how much of a role that dress and appearance plays in victim selection. But the difficulty with that is if you highlight it, that the reason that person's been targeted is not just because of sexuality or gender identity, but because of the way that they look, the way that they dress, is that people might suggest, well, maybe they should change, maybe they should not look like that, not act like that. And recently I actually heard of an LGBT organisation who rang a school to say you need to be supporting your young people better because they'd started self-harming. And the school actually responded with, well, maybe they should stop acting so gay, not dress like that, not act like that, they wouldn't get the bullying. And that's atrocious.
One time I was with my girlfriend at the time and we were just holding hands, but I got pulled into her office, the head teacher, and she asked me if I wouldn't mind experimenting at home, which was completely awful now I think back to it. But I think at the time I was like, this is a person of authority. I didn't question what she was saying, but looking back it is quite a bit weird. But, you know, she'd asked me to experiment at home, preferably with the supervision of my parents.
There was this boy who just really sort of felt like it was his duty, like his service to the world, to make my time in that school living hell, really. You know, he would often call me things like a faggot, you know, just really sort of discriminative things. And I honestly, I kept really calm about it until one day I snapped out. I remember he made a snarky remark about how I was, like, you know, really feminine and, you know, how I wasn't right. So I called him something to do with his weight, which I'm honestly quite disappointed with myself in. But that sort of really was my first lash out, and, well, my last, really.
It got so bad, like I'd be physically abused, psychologically abused. I couldn't even walk home safely because I'd had them follow me home. And it was quite harrowing because, like, it got to the point where I did literally snap and, like, don't use the word mental breakdown lightly, but that is more or less what I had, where I didn't leave my house properly for months. It took people almost 2 years to get me back into secondary school and mainstream education from homeschool. And within that time, it ended up giving me a psychosomatic condition that led to me having to have an operation later due to the fact it left physical complications. And to think that bullying can do that to someone is quite sad, of why they want to do that and why you could look at another human being like that and just see them as a target.
In terms of homophobic and transphobic hate crime, we tend to take the data from the police recorded. So we know that the most recent statistics in England and Wales suggest that approximately 4,000 homophobic hate crimes were recorded. However, the crime survey for England and Wales, which asks the general public about their experiences, shows that 39,000 hate crimes were being committed. We know within research that those experiences have been verbally abused, intimidated, harassed on the basis of their sexual orientation or gender identity are commonplace.
It kind of like puts this kind of underlying fear of actually being yourself. And then when you do come out, it's okay for a week because everyone's just like, yeah, well done for you. But then it just goes downhill again and it's worse than it was before.
I remember at secondary school, the kids would use the word gay to say that something wasn't good. It's like, oh, that's so gay, or this is really gay because it's rubbish or whatever. And you kind of then negatively associate being gay with those bad things that people think are rubbish. And that kind of makes you feel really bad because I remember knowing I was gay from probably the age of 12, I suppose. And thinking, I'm wrong, I'm not right, I'm rubbish, I suck.
With everybody else that I've grown up with, there's always been homophobic slurs, even though I've not always been out as, you know, not heterosexual.
So I've heard such a range of experiences from those who on a day-to-day basis are being called faggot, queer, puff. As soon as they open the door, that's what they've come to accept. That's, for me, some of the most upsetting ones when young people themselves just say, it's something we've got to put up with. I find that really, really upsetting.
It's so common now in school for people to just be saying, wow, don't be a fag. There's no point in reporting everything that happens because I'd be there every single day saying what's happened. And staff are very aware of what's going on, but then it's actually finding a way to deal with it effectively, and it's a bit hard.
I noticed at Bedehaven, like the school I went to, everyone sort of got all these derogatory slurs like faggot and pufter and all of that off their older siblings or off their parents who just absent-mindedly say it at their home. So, like, in no fault of their own, they just think it's okay, and they don't realise the damage they could do of what comes out of their mouths. So even if you find it funny, like, really need to be able to think about what you're saying.
When people say, you know, just casually to their friends, oi, don't be a fag, or oi, faggot, they don't really understand the impact that it has on people. Because people could just be walking past and listening to their friends calling each other fags, and they could be closeted for all you know. And you're making them scared to come out. You're making them scared to be themselves, and it's really horrible.
I hear about these LGBT students' deaths and stuff, and I can imagine family rejection is probably one of the prime causes of it, because you can have strangers call you a faggot or say go kill yourself or whatever all you like, because it's just strangers. Yeah, it's horrible, but it doesn't affect you as much as having your own family turn their back on you for something so stupidly simple.
Home life for me is very difficult because I'm not out to my parents because they're not very supportive of gay people. From a young age, I've heard my dad say things that are not very nice. You know, all gay people should be shot, as an example, was something that he actually said. And that doesn't make you feel very comfortable and safe.
My parents are very right-wing, very anti-foreign, anti-everything, basically. And when they found out, it was because they were going through my computer, because they were looking through Facebook, because they did that because they were nosy. They called me down into the living room. My father said nothing because he didn't know what to say about it. But my mother asked me, so you think you're gay, do you? Yeah, you're not gay. Don't be silly, you're not gay. And she then said to me, so you have no interest in girls whatsoever? I'm like, no, that's really unusual. That is unusual. You're not gay, don't be silly. That's the end of it. Now you're not having your laptop anymore.
Coming out to my dad was really, really helpful for me. I mean, that was a funny story because I was so terrified about doing it. Pretty much what happened was he went round the shop, so I thought that'd be the perfect time to pack a bag and write a note and stick it on his laptop and then run out the house. About 4 hours later, he phoned up one of my friends and passed the phone on to me, and I was like, hello? It was so funny. He was like, Alex, you gotta come home. My towels are missing. I take it you've got them. I was like, wait, so I'm not bound for house? No, just get home. So then I can remember I got through my front door, and the first thing I did was I literally ran up to my room. I more or less stayed there for 2 days, barely leaving it to go to the loo or anything. When I finally came down, my dad was like, are you quite finished? And looking back, it's one of the funniest things ever, because it's like, what an idiot I was back then.
I was like, can I talk to you, please? And they said, sure. And I sat them down, and my mum actually, the first thing she said was, are you telling us you're gay? And I said, well, yes and no. And they were obviously very intrigued by this. And they said, what do you mean, sort of? And I said, well, I like boys. And they replied, so you're gay? And I said, but I also like girls. And they said, so you're straight then? And I said, but no, because I like boys and girls.
I came out to my parents when I was 15. I initially came out as bisexual. I think my parents were a bit shocked. I think it came sort of out of the blue for them. I think over time, though, they really grew to accept it.
I think they knew, they did know I wasn't the most closeted of people, if you want to put it that way. I mean, they were shocked for a while, and it took a lot of supportive family outside of my initial family. to help them, when I say come to terms with everything.
In year 11, I think it was, I came out publicly to everyone. It got spread through Facebook, so everybody found out.
I had somebody posting horrible things on some sort of a hate account regarding people's gender and sexuality. So one of the things that they posted was saying trans kids deserve nothing but genocide, and you're just in denial about the fact that you're a girl. You're just in denial about the fact that, you know, what happened to you to make you gay? And I'm not gay, nothing's happened to me. And I'm not in denial, I'm just a prettier boy than you.
I didn't know that there was anything besides gay and straight. You know, I was raised where, you know, they were the gays, like sort of like separated off as a separate cell of beings, and then there were the straight people.
I think often within the LGBT population we homogenise it. We throw transgender people with lesbian, gay and bisexual, and I think what this does is underplay and often ignore their discrete experiences. I've heard from so many trans young people who are facing hostility, intimidation on a day-to-day basis. It's difficult enough coming to terms with being transgender. So to then face that from friends, family, strangers, I think we're not doing nowhere near enough to ensure that those young people are being supported. And so some of the experiences that I've heard from young people who are being bullied day in, day out at school, that are scared to leave the house, that are scared to come out to tell their parents, their family, these are things that we need to be tackling so that we are creating an environment in which young people feel comfortable to share their experiences.
When I first started college, like, I was still kind of, I don't know how to put it, sort of damaged from my experience at secondary school. Like, for the first month at least, I was quite a skittish person at college. Like, I kind of didn't really know when to talk, when to shut up because of, well, yeah, I just didn't have the confidence in myself. And after getting that back out of me, it was nice to feel human again. And it was quite literally feeling like a human being, because for ages I barely considered myself as anything more than insignificant.
When I came to college, I was really happy because it was a very mature environment. It felt like all of the people who were very biased and unfriendly about this whole situation were, they really sort of just tended to not disappear, but they sort of just quieten down. And it was just, I felt really welcomed.
Here at Camborne, they found out that I was gay. Most of it was in a corridor, like, we were just waiting to go into class. We were sat down in the corridor waiting, and they were like, but you don't act gay. I was like, no, but you're joining the military and you don't act gay. I was like, oh, okay then. And one of the people next to me, you're gay, yeah? Ugh, and walked off and sat somewhere else. And everyone else was there like, oh, forget him, he's not going to go anywhere in life because he's not accepting of normal people. And that's the way a lot of people, younger people nowadays, actually are, and people don't realise that.
Yeah, like anyway, you're going to get the odd comment, but I wouldn't get followed, I wouldn't get actively harassed or abused. And it was a place where I honestly felt safe. And it's quite funny because I live all the way up in Bude, and it literally took me travelling to the other end of the county every single day for what has been the past 3 years now, just to feel safe in my own education environment.
I think that was the first time I came out to people was in my second year at college, to my friends, and now it's kind of at the stage where I'm out to most of my friends, and you know, my uni friends, college friends, whatever it is, and the only people I'm not out to is my family because I feel in danger.
Particularly for people living within a rural location, the impact is different because it's taking place in your home environment. It's so much more scary. You're fearful, you're anxious, because actually you might know the perpetrator. They're young people. You can't escape that when it's in your home. And so I think that's often different within a rural location. It's such a closed community.
You know, you feel censored in your own home in a way. It's, you know, I've been away at uni for a year now, and the freedom that's given me to be able to, you know, have what I want in my room and you know, have posters or whatever it is that you can't have at home. And it's like you're living a different person's life when you're at home, and it's, you know, it's like to your friends you're one person and then you're switching like personas and to someone else, and you have to be so careful. It's awful.
I wish I'd sort of had a bit more support from maybe like positive experiences from friends and stuff, but I think because I was quite young, I didn't have like any particular role models, or no one was really out at that time.
If there's people that have got families who don't believe in them or don't trust them, there are lots of people out there that will. There's lots of groups, there's lots of people that can help. There's tons and tons of websites that you can figure out where you want to go and they'll help you.
LGBTQ Youth Cornwall is the organisation that runs the Yay Youth Group, Yay standing for Young and Yourself. And the reason that we called it that partly is because young people can just come along and be themselves. And the youth group supports young people up to the age of 25 years old, so it's quite a broad age range. And it's specifically for young people that are either lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, non-binary, etc. And they also may be questioning their sexuality or their gender. So we also welcome that because there's no pressure really for them to know what's going on for them at that time. And we've had some people come to the group that have never met anyone else that has gone through the things that they're going through. So for them to just come in and be around people of a similar circumstance is of great value to them.
I spoke to the sexuality officer at this campus, and I spoke to him about becoming a member of the committee. I became really comfortable in this environment of being, I am going to be a topic of controversy. I am going to be, like, not an issue, well, an issue to some people even. But just sort of like maybe to some people I'm an important figure, which really, like, helped my self-confidence.
We should be able to live in a society. You can act how you want, you can be who you feel you are, and there should be nothing that you are fearing or that people should say you should change. And so we should be doing much more to actually raise awareness to diversity, variety is the way that it should be.
The people here, it's not their fault that they're not educated about this stuff and that they have a very closed view, because that's just tradition. Everyone is shaped by their childhood, by how they grow up, and it's not their fault, but their closed-mindedness, they can change that.
The dictionary definition of gender is not biological sex, it is literally how you feel in your mind and how you feel.
If I'm honest, I don't 100% know what my sexuality is, but I feel comfortable with knowing that it's okay to be who I am. So I don't really have a label as such, but I feel positive with who I am.
You can't live two lives because you get depressed, you get angry, you get upset, and it's not any way to live. And I found myself in very dark places, sad places, because I can't express myself in the way I want to. And so, ultimately, being happy is being yourself, and if you're not yourself, you can't be happy.
But the funny thing was, I was closed off and really upset by all of this. But eventually, when I got my first girlfriend, and I said, you know what, I am a lesbian, that's how it is. And the bullying stopped.
Don't act in the way they expect you to act. Act in the way you expect you to act. And maybe even the way you don't expect yourself to act. You don't know your personality. You don't really know who you are until you've done everything you can do to discover who you are.
And as soon as you show that you're comfortable, you don't have a weakness anymore. And I think that's the important thing, is about being strong and telling people that you don't care what they think. Because eventually, it's not fun for them anymore. They want to see a reaction. And when you stop reacting, there's nothing for them to see.
At the end of the day, it's your sexuality you're dealing with, not theirs, and it's no one else's place to tell you how you should act or how you should be. Because they wouldn't do it to a heterosexual person, so why should they do it to someone who isn't?
They drove me to a point where I was deeply depressed, but at the end it was my decision to not leave my house and to stay locked up and scared. So I would say is try and be proud of yourself more and not care what people think.
It's going to get better, even if you're closeted there, or if you are out and you're being, given shit. It will get better, because it's got better for me eventually. After all the crap, don't let it get to you like I've let it get to me, because that kind of fucked me up. If you let it get to you, then it's going to get worse. If you don't let it get to you and you are yourself, then things will be okay.
In an ideal world, I would hope that young people that are LGBT are just able to love and be loved without being questioned, you know, without having to explain all the time what's happening for them. Because for them, that would mean that they were just accepted in society and that they didn't feel so different.
If you're happy and you're not hurting anyone, then what's the harm?
Definitely, your happiness, I think, is the most important thing. Definitely.
Being happy with other people and being happy with yourself.
It's a different world, I think. The army has progressed, the world has progressed, and my mother has stuck in a rut of the 1970s where people were still thinking that because if you're born a certain way, that's who you are. If you live a certain way, that's who you are. If you're stuck in a certain class, that's who you are. I get the mick taken out of me because I sound upper class, but I'm like, it doesn't matter in life. We're moving progressively, and here we are arguing over who we were born as, not who we can be, and it's all just, we all just need to grow up and get along.